good on you for being on this call because, I do have something to share with you in terms of what's been happening since May 1st. Okay. There's something important about that over the past, what have we got now? 12 days or 13 days if you include May 1st. And I'm going to get into that at the beginning. But first, has anyone been struggling in whatever way? Typically, quite often an emotional way, sometimes physical. It depends on what we're all sort of predisposed to or have as an existing weakness, whether it's a physical or emotional or mental. So certainly hit I don't know, a why or a short little response in the chat saying, have you been, to confirm, have you been struggling more than usual since May 1st? And I'm going to cover that for about 5-10 minutes because it's important. You're welcome, Pat. Yes, struggling. I got hit big time last night. Yes, from Steve. Not so much, just up and down emotionally. Okay, so again, this is in context of pre-May 1st, roughly about that period. Were you struggling more or was there more upheaval of whatever kind after May 1st and since May 1st, much more than usual? That's the main, I suppose, distinction to that question. And okay, I've got a yes pretty much by everyone. And I'm glad it's a small group today with today's Q&A because it makes it a little easier to really spend more time with each person. Okay, so we got 90% yes there. Okay, so here's what's been happening. And Laurie Ladd, she articulated it quite well. She's on YouTube, Lori Ladd, Ladd, I'm pretty sure. Lovely, sweet lady, very intuitive, obviously. She said it best. She summed it up best. Where since May 1st, because of the huge influx of light that's come in as a result of successful 144K mass meditations and other groups involved as well. Okay, I'll just wait for Samari to come on. And let me see here. I'll just make sure everyone is muted to take care of any background noise. Okay, Samari, I was just beginning to explain what's been going on since May 1st and whether you've been struggling more since May 1st, much more than usual. So influx of light. Now, it does mainly two things. It kicks up any other side of your shadow that you haven't looked at yet, that you haven't gotten to yet. Okay, it forces that up. And now and quite often through being compromised internally because of being forced, that shadow stuff or from this light coming in has forced all this shadow stuff to come up. And for clearing, ultimately, is well worth it. And I've been struggling as well too. I've got my fair share of shadow stuff that I hadn't gotten around to. And basically, it now forces you to look at that, to be able to not just clear it, but or clear it in a way where you can adjust to the new higher timeline that the whole planet is going on. Okay. So you can rise above with the rising tide, if you will. And so it's forcing you to look at yourself also at the personality level, at the behavior level, because this new light, it's recoding, it's clearing old programs, it's clearing all programs. It's changing you at the personality behavioral level, at a deeper level, very intrinsic level. Okay. Changing your sense of self. And that sort of freaks out the conditioned adult mind and our current personality with the way it's used to being. Okay. It's forcing change in that regard. Now, another thing, so you got to look at parts of your internal self, aka shadow, that's you haven't gotten around to yet. Okay. And it's quite simple. It's as simple as doing that 30-minute soft fragment retrieval process, going up to the teams, showing them the emotion that's getting a bit out of control, or physical symptom in some cases, or your head not feeling right, not functioning right. It doesn't really matter what the symptom is, as long as you show them to. They spend a good couple of minutes showing that to them methodically, and then they scan, and then you hold the intent of what's behind this, what's causing this symptom, because ultimately it's symptoms. It's no matter how raw the emotion may be, ultimately that raw emotion is nothing more than a symptom of something else that hasn't been healed, retrieved yet. And I'm talking from experience, because I've had to do, there's areas of my life that I'm quite weak at, courtesy of Asperger's. I'm very weak in the area of relationships. Having, a number of friends that, you regularly talk with, spend time with every week. I've never been that way. My access to this world, like a keyhole to this world, has been predominantly through my wife. 95% through my wife, and that's not a healthy thing. So that issue has been forced up. Okay, where I would often on the weekends go out by myself, because I didn't know, again, primarily because of Asperger's, I didn't know how to cultivate relationships, maintain relationships, and enjoy that flow that you have with friends, where catching up with them or going out with them just kind of tends to just happen. Okay, for me, that's never really been the case. You'd have to be a more linear, methodical. Okay, I call this person at this hour to make sure we do something together. I'll have to, in a very linear, robotic way, and in a very conscious, effort-driven way. That's how I did my relationships. So that, anyway, Asperger's resulted in a lot of loneliness, and that loneliness trauma came up. I did a simple soft fragment retrieval. Now I'm able to do it on the fly because I've done it so many times. Okay, I'm able to do it on the fly when I in the morning. And I did a soft brain retrieval and I felt better. And I mean, back to normal again. Okay, because some of the emotions many of us are experiencing varying degrees of anxiousness or anxiety, or just a charge of fear. Um, loneliness, perhaps, whatever the case may be. If you've got a physical ailment, okay, that's probably gotten worse than normal if you have some sort of chronic physical issue. And it's important to do a soft brain retrieval because quite often what happens is when something internal comes up, okay, and you're feeling this way or that way, scared, anxiety, fatigue, or just fear, or incessant worry about whatever area of your life that you're struggling with, everything gets agitated, amplified. So that's what happens when a shadow part that's unresolved as yet comes up. Now, what it also does, not necessarily all the time, but often, is it compromises your aura. Okay. It either weakens or pokes holes in your outer auric membrane. And that's when things get twice as bad because now you've got external entities coming in through either a very porous auric membrane or clear holes in your auric membrane. Okay. So the first thing that you'll want to do if you've been struggling since May 1st is check your outer auric membrane. Okay. Just see and if there's holes or if it's weak in certain areas, you'll see it straight away. It's not as if you have to visualize your auric membrane and make sure you slow and methodical kind of way. If you don't consider yourself much of an energy worker, that initial instant glance at that cocoon or oval shaped auric membrane of yours, if there's a hole or if it's porous, or even as much as half of it is missing, which has been happening to me as well, it'll appear straight away that way when that initial split-second glance. Okay, so it's nothing that you need to work for, if you will. Just one sec. There we go. Okay. So important tip there, really makes a difference. And then, I mean, if you got your own guides or archangels, you can call for their support if you want. But otherwise, your higher self generally wants us to see you having a go at things, being a little adventurous. Okay. So just seal that auric membrane. Again, pick whatever color you want to represent your outer auric membrane. And whatever part of your aura is still there, start with that. So say if only the top 1/4 is actually there and the rest is either not there or sometimes you'll see a gray haze. Okay. Whatever you see, just start with that quarter and use healing and rebuilding white light, for lack of a better term, kind of like transmutational white light at the edge of that part of the auric membrane that's still there, and move it downwards. Okay. Move that ring, if you will, ring of intense white light, move it downwards, leaving behind and basically rebuilding and restoring that healthy color that represents your outer auric membrane. Okay. And just move it all the way down and close it at the bottom where it forms like a circle, and close it at the bottom. Be kind of quick and casual about it, is my recommendation. And then look for an entity, transmute the entity. But more often than not, half the time, just sealing my outer auric membrane was enough, and I'm back to normal. Now, if within the hour you're feeling out of sorts again, then that's how you know it's most likely either a soul fragment issue. Now, on the odd occasion, it can be a portal. Okay, they just appear as, black dots, basically. When you look at your body holographically, again, pick your background colors, whatever works for you. You'll see it, okay, when you look casually without trying, okay, to allow that psychic flow. It's all done through non-trying. If you want to try at something, just try at being still and present, and ignore what your physical eyes see when seeing yourself holographically and visualizing yourself that way. Look for any black dots. Okay, now, even if a portal is the size of a quantum particle, your mind's eye will show to you as the size of either a golf ball or even a tennis ball. Okay, for the sake of that rational mind translation. All right. Now, that's just a quick on how to clear portals. You can do it. It's easier than you think. And then, so you've cleared your auric membrane. You felt better, but only briefly, like for half an hour or maybe a couple of hours, and then it's compromised again. Okay. That strongly suggests that you've got a shadow part, typically a soul fragment retrieval that needs retrieving, or you have a portal, or you have an entity. Okay. So if your outer auric membrane gets compromised again, okay, quickly seal it again, okay, with that, band of white light that rebuilds it, and you move it downward, leaving behind that healthy color of a restored auric membrane. Quickly do that again to get yourself a lot more stable, to have an easier time clearing yourself and helping yourself. Quickly check for a portal, if there isn't one, whether there is or isn't one. Check for an entity. Okay. And again, if your auric membrane gets compromised again after, covering those bases, so a second time there's a hole in it, or goes porous, or gets kind of acid washed, as my wife calls it, where it's just white. You see part of a section of your auric membrane in whatever color to you represents your auric membrane. For me, it's green. And if it's pale, I call that acid washed, where it's just sort of gone. Other times it appears as a dark gray, like the remainder of your auric membrane. It appears as a dark gray, which means there's a lot of non-physicals, a lot of non-physical infection that's moving into the party, so to speak, uninvited. If you see that dark gray, just do a quick transmutation where you just turn it all white. Okay, so that remainder in the shape of your auric oval membrane shape, that oval shape, turn it white. And I like to change the background color into a dark indigo to easily see the distinction between, the boundaries of my auric membrane. Turn it white. So now, in a dark background, most of your auric membrane, and aura for that matter, will be a white transmutational light. Okay, just hold that, and then you start to move the color part, the part of your auric membrane that's still intact, move it, use that same process I just described earlier, and move it downward, kind of, if you will, covering up or replacing the white transmutational light that makes up the rest of that oval shape of your aura, move it all the way down, leaving and closing it at the bottom or the top, whatever the case may be, leaving behind that healthy, restored auric membrane color. In terms of that color, I just choose green. You choose whatever you want. Could be blue, could be red, orange, gold, brown, whatever. So do that quick protocol. Check your aura first. If it goes down, seal it in the way that I described. And then, you know, if you're fine for the rest of the day, then it's unlikely to be an internal soul fragment type issue. Okay. So seal your aura. If it goes down, rebuild it. Check for a portal. Okay. If it goes down again an hour later, rebuild it again, then check for an entity. And if it goes down again, that suggests it's a deep shadow part that needs to be healed and retrieved. Rebuild it again to go up to the amalgam and do a straightforward soul fragment retrieval process. Okay. And always remember, you don't have to see things perfectly, vividly, the way you see things in the physical. Okay. You can if you want, don't have to. Okay. So that's been going on a lot since May 1st. And even I've had to do at least 3 to 4 soul fragment retrievals on wounding that presented itself as weak areas of my life. And it was time for them to be dealt with, to be cleared, so that you're not walking laden with this undealt with shadow aspects. Yes, the emotions or whatever the symptoms are is unpleasant, even scary. Totally empathize with that. You're not alone. Okay. Now, if you want, you can simply, upon the first time that your aura goes down and your emotions go awry and volatile in whatever way, you can quickly seal your aura and go up to the amalgam to do a soul fragment retrieval straight away. It's only 30 minutes. You can do that if you want, if you know that this is a deep shadow issue, a deep internal issue. And if you have the time, you can do 2 soul fragment retrievals. You just repeat that process where you, you can just, after the first soul fragment retrieval, just repeat the process where you look for another soul fragment retrieval. You can ask the amalgam is there another soul fragment that needs retrieving now? Generally, that's not how it's done, but you do have that as an option, because people have got their shadow aspects that they haven't looked at before, wounding, whatever it is, in terms of soul fragment. People have got them coming up a fair bit now, albeit for the right reasons. Okay, it's because there really has been quite a massive influx of light, a really big influx of light that's really shining light of anything that we've missed, any stone that's unturned or hasn't been turned. Not fun, well worth it in the long term. You start to doubt your ability about whether you can handle this. Okay. And again, talking from experience, you can, but you got to make sure you muster just a little bit of discipline to give yourself the best chance, to give yourself a real deal chance to handle it by using what you do have access to, what you do know. Okay. That's what your higher self really wants to see you doing. And upon that, yes, as the old biblical saying goes, he or she meets you halfway. You meet it halfway. You do a bit, even if you think it's nothing that significant, it does a bit. And when that happens, it's a bit more communication and guidance going, a bit more high frequency, onto a high timeline. And then, this happens. Okay. Of course, when you go to the amalgam, this happens. Okay. So I'm going to open things up to questions in a minute. I just want to make sure I've covered the fact that this is sort of happening at the physical level, because this incoming light, it isn't just a non-physical phenomena in terms of it purging stuff through and out of your etheric body, emotional body, mental body, and astral body, and so forth. It's also really hitting the physical nerves and your neurology in particular, and cellular memory. Okay, so Katharina Jansma of the CEO of medicahealth.com, she explained to me that pain, and this includes emotional pain as well, only exists for 13 days. After that, it exists within the cell only as a holographic memory. And that memory kind of maintains the pain, or keeps on looping, repeating, or keeping in place the pain. Okay. Interesting, right? So those holographic memories within our nerve cells and whatnot, and I'm sure holographically they contain negative programs, false beliefs, whatever the case may be, this light is really getting to those physical level cells and memories as well, pushing them out. And quite often, what happens? It pushes it up into your conscious awareness, often, not all the time, but often, before it goes for good. Okay. So that's happening now. That's why people are so much anxiousness, because their nerves are being kind of overworked, if you will, like a hard and fast extreme detox. Okay. So, and another important nuance is that it's changing. Again, kudos to Laurie Ladd for that short 1-minute video. The effect of all of this is it's changing the way we are. The way, how we tend to be and act and behave and do in a certain way. Okay, really core intrinsic stuff like that. That's being changed as well to a different way of being, a different way to be. Okay, so arguably down to the personality level. All right, now that doesn't happen all the time. And when such a thing does happen, it's hard for the personality, that rigid, heavily conditioned, programmed adult mind and its false sense of self. It's hard for it to adjust to that change. It's hard to be and act and think in a more upgraded way, a different way. That takes time. But we've got because that influx of light since May 1st, we've got quite a jolt as far as that's concerned. Me, for example, it's kind of forcing me to be more open to people, more connected to people, text or call people a lot more often, rather than being this hermit and, doing energy work and that kind of thing. Well, in my case, as a good example, maybe more energy work isn't necessarily what I need. Maybe I need to fix the imbalances in my life, which in my case, Mr. Asperger's man used to be with people, connect with people more. All right, very much the contrast of Asperger's traits. So see that as an example, because there's a behavioral and personality aspect to it all as well. That's changing as well. It's not just a case of light forcing up unhealed stuff and you healing it and onward you go. It's also about a different way of being, you know, not quite, but almost being a bit of a different person, an upgraded person. Okay. So that's what's different about this new influx of light that started since May 1st. Obviously, it doesn't happen very often. It is part of the process of setting us up and setting you up on a much higher timeline. Because the thing with higher timelines is that you have to be able to receive the higher timeline. You know, the classic old Chinese proverb or Japanese proverb, whatever it was, where the teacup has to be big enough and be empty enough to receive. So allow the clearing and the changes in your nervous system, those holographic memories being cleared and released, finally addressing imbalances in your life, or taking a good look in the mirror, metaphorically speaking, about, okay, what is it about me, my behavior, how I usually approach things or handle things that needs an upgrade. Okay. Again, for me, it's being with people and connecting with people more. Okay. And that has helped. That has helped me feel not just better, but help with the healing of the loneliness wounding. Okay. So that's the big difference on this occasion. It's not just deep internal stuff needs to heal. There's a personality and behavioral level aspect to things as well. Let me get to questions now. Let me see. Reactions. So just remember the icon at the bottom. Click on reactions and then click the button raise hand so I can unmute you. And if you don't have any questions, that's fine, because you've gotten a lot already, some important fundamental, not just protocols, but understanding of what's going on. Okay. Really follow those protocols. And it returned me, like I've had to do a soft rapid retrieval almost every second day since May 1st, with 1 or 2 ICB style soft rapid retrievals. Okay. Gotcha, Steve. You know, and 30 minutes, again, if you're having trouble even sitting yourself down and being still enough to be able to see the non-physical, quote unquote, visualize, remember to seal your auric membrane, moving that band of white light from the area that's still intact, and then moving that band of white light over that white lit up transmuting part of your aura. It's still in the shape of that oval shape, and then close it at the bottom or the top. Remember to do that first so that you can have a much easier time. That'll buy you a minimum 30 minutes to as much as 2 hours. That'll buy you the time to be able to sit down and go up. Okay. And don't worry about getting the visualization just right. It's more of a case, like I said, not trying and just ignoring your physical lives is the best way I can describe it. So let me answer you, Steve.
Okay, can you hear me?
Um, yep, I can hear you just fine.
Uh, in your latest update, you sent us a link to Unveiling 33, and something in that link said that or he says that creating your own reality is New Age nonsense. He said something about it being a program that Cabal used to trap souls into their grids, and that's part of what you're trying to teach us is to create our own reality. So, just wondered if you would comment on that.
Okay, so that's I guess related, slightly off topic because it's more of a 144K kind of question, but I do want to get to it because there is a lot of I suppose fear around the new age, quote unquote, movement. Um, so there was there's still a debate whether the new age movement was started by the CIA through its the usual MK Ultra operative victims or not. Um, I've so there's some truth to that because any movement tends to get infiltrated, tends to get infected by non-physical darkness. Okay, um, that's why I have sort of no shame in making the 144K mass meditation group very top heavy, if you will, where it's just me and at the very most my partner in charge, and that's about it because we know how to handle ourselves in terms of external infiltration. And because if you've got a group of people in a leadership role, then there's a risk of infiltration even more. Um, sort of, that is true, not completely true, but that is true what he says in the unveiling about the New Age movement. Um, sort of ignore the New Age movement, focus more on methodologies, tools, techniques, and the efficacy of those and the efficacy of the teacher of said tools and methods themselves. Just worry about that. Sort of don't bother pondering or worrying about whether the New Age movement has been infected or infiltrated or not. Um, you know, most movements tend to get infiltrated because this through the CIA, the cabal moves in. Okay. Um, it's part and parcel of this particular matrix. Of course, that's changing, and I prefer the term the esoteric, deeper awareness levels or higher awareness levels of working with energy, because that's really where it's all at. Is just at a speed and pace that works for you, gradually expanding your ability to work with energy, learn, pick up the occasional new tool, do the occasional, course. Okay. Because ultimately it's about resetting your, like, so the false persona, also known as or adult mind or sense of self or the current incarnational ego, to re-establish its relationship with its true identity, which everyone refers to as higher self. I only worry about that. You know, don't bother giving the New Age movement much of a second thought. We don't have to know all the technical is XYZ compromised or not. Okay. Um, let me check this question here. Okay, Miguel. Yes, that is coming, Miguel. The link to that is coming. So it should be arriving today, actually. Um, yeah. So whenever you read stuff, keep it in perspective. Don't go too much in that direction in terms of what it actually says. Um, I hope that helps, Steve. And let me just check to see if there's anyone else that has a question. And because, and it's okay if there's no further questions from anyone, because um, it's been again, because of what's been happening since May 1st, albeit for the right reasons, and how to me expressing how to handle that. It's already been a bit of a loaded Q&A for today. Okay, Sue. And go ahead and make sure you're unmuted, Sue, and go ahead and ask your question when you're ready.
Okay, thanks, Jim. The thing is, yesterday I woke up with a bad attack of sciatica. And what happened, I did some exercises and felt so much better. In the afternoon, I did the phase 1. And when I did that, I felt really good and the pain had gone. Then last night, I had an aggressive phone call. Someone really attacked me, a family member who I know has mental health. After the phone call, I felt really quite drained and tired, and the sciatica came back with a vengeance. So I probably should have done something then, but I couldn't. But this morning I woke up, and before I got on the call, I did the quick 5-minute flyby. The funny thing was, I'd recorded it on my phone, and while I was trying to play it, it just kept cutting out all the time. So I know this person has dealt for years with dark entities. So I'm trying to work out whether it's something that's come my way, something I've picked up from that phone call.
Something you picked up from that phone call?
Yeah.
It was a deliberate act or orchestration on the part of non-physicals.
Yep.
Where you cleared yourself, you did the right thing, you were proactive, and good on you. And so the dark ones were left there, turning their little go-to, thinking, okay, how do we get to her now? Through that person. They're pretty compromised. Let's make that person call her, and through the phone call and his voice, whammo. Okay. So when it comes to whenever that happens through interactions, and it could be through a text, opening up a text or opening up an email. I typically do, my partner and I, we typically do the just a quick verbal revocation. All right. Which I know is in the Patreon area. Quickly do a verbal revocation. Because that takes a minute.
Right.
70% of the time, that's enough and does the job.
Okay.
And on the off chance that it doesn't, check your outer auric membrane, just in case it got slammed. The remaining 30% of the time, that'll probably be enough. Now, you may need to transmute an entity, do a quick transmutation that's possible. But 70 to 80% of the time, again, when it comes to just interactions with other people, the verbal revocation does the trick.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's in the Patreon. And if I get any more requests, I'll put it in the members area for timeline jumpers.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, because that's a very handy tool. It's quick, convenient, and works a minimum 70% of the time. Minimum. Okay. So that's in the area of feeling rotten after an interaction with someone. Okay.
Right.
And we've got to be careful because even, when you've been out to the shops, interacted with whoever, the checkout person at the very least, you come home and you're not feeling right, nothing major like what you experienced with that guy, family member calling you, but you're not feeling right, or you're tired, or your brain is buzzing, or there's an incessant thought that's niggling away, that kind of symptoms. Okay.
Okay.
That's where you want to use the verbal revocation, as you're putting your shopping away or whatever mundane thing is the case. It's really handy for that. Okay. So anyway, that's the answer there. Transmute an entity for now. Transmute an entity that may have come through this individual. Check your outer auric membrane, close it up, seal it with that white light method, leaving that healthy color behind.
Okay.
That may well be enough. It's only when stuff like that, those sorts of simple protocols are not enough, that's when something, very much more significant deep within you in the shadow area simply got triggered
Okay.
or connected with, do those protocols first, because having
Okay.
to go
Thanks,
into the
Jim.
amalgam, having to go up to the amalgam for 30 minutes, half the time at the very least isn't even needed. Okay. Any questions before I move on to Pat?
No, thanks, Jim. Thanks very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And where are you exactly in Australia?
I'm in Cairns, in Australia.
Oh, Cairns.
At
Okay.
5 o'clock it was this morning here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's halfway up. Is it above or below Townsville?
No, it's above Townsville.
That's hot.
Yeah, it is.
All right. All right. Nice talking with you, Sue. Nice catching up with you.
Thank you. Nice, Jim. Thank you.
All righty. Now, Pat. All right, Pat, you should be
Okay.
unmuted.
Hi, yeah, I am. Thank you. I so enjoyed the unveiling 33 and all the comments. It was great. Thank you. So
The unveiling, the link.
yeah, the link, yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. Learned a lot. And I wanted to report about the using the water on plants. I think it is helpful. I'm not the best plant mother, and I think it's been a nice thing for them. And I did a little want to ask. I've been sick a few times, like this past week, like a very mild flu, and I have a really hard time getting to any of this. So, but I keep after it, and when I feel better, then I'm able to do it. So,
Got you. Do whatever you can do within your daily schedule. Okay.
okay,
Now, so you're primarily getting physical symptoms
I would say so. Yeah. Mhm.
more than emotional or mental symptoms,
Yeah.
since May 1st.
Yes.
Yeah. That, suggests that, I mean, sometimes it is non-physical causes, but it suggests that you have more than one physical chronic issue. Okay. And if I'm accurate with that the incoming light is going to, I suppose, amplify that. or bring that up to the fore. Okay, that's all. That's oh, awesome, Jeannie's here. That's all that's really happening there. So, you know, I'm not, just to check so I don't assume anything. These chronic physical issues, have you gone up and shown them to the teams, to the amalgam?
Yeah, I have. So I'm the one with long-term Lyme disease. And so, it does have several parts. And so I have quite a few times, but I'll keep doing it, I guess. So,
yeah, okay. Well, something like Lyme's, you can bring up or trigger several traumas, if you will. Okay.
Mm.
It could bring up a different form of wounding in the area of being codependent or too codependent on someone in this or a past life. Okay. It could bring up a trauma in this or past life where you lost normal abilities to do normal things. Okay. You can trigger that kind of wounding. What's an example that I saw where a current issue was being expressed from something that seemed a little different, but was sort of the same thing, highly related. And I'm trying to remember an example. Let me see here. Because sometimes current or past life soul fragments, they pretty much mimic themselves in terms of current symptoms that they show up as. Like if you were fatigued during a traumatic experience in a past life, fatigue will show up now, that kind of thing. But not all the time, not all the time at all. And I'm not getting any examples of my personal experiences. So the trick with your situation is to simply attract the right resource that clears your lines. Okay. And the damage that it does. So, I suspect I recommended MMS, do a bit of homework.
You did. I got the book. I've been looking at it. I'm a little old for a big project, but I'm looking at it. So
yeah.
And I do have a healer who helps me quite a bit. So
good.
Yeah.
Good. Because something like Lyme's, yeah, you do initially clear the energetics behind it, what led to it, to even be in this situation. And yeah, it can require more than once or twice. It could require a couple of weeks, I don't know, 3 or 4 kind of soul fragment retrieval type work. But you do want to, once that's done, move on to the 3D solutions. So in that book, look in the area of, I think they have each condition or illness or disease, whatever it is, categorized or listed, and recommended treatments for XYZ. Okay. Because if I remember correctly, Lyme's, he recommends to add or use another chemical called DMSO.
Okay.
All right. That you can order with the other 2 main sodium chlorate type products. So research on, well, not on Google, on Brave Search. Just type in how I cured my Lyme's. If you haven't done something like that already, go ahead and do so. And, you know, or cured limes in Brave Search. Really sort of go for it and in more than one sort of like look at more than one resource or method.
Okay.
Alrighty. And let me so do that and see how you go.
Thank you.
And I'm pretty sure there's some either one page or half a page or a small section on things like limes in the book. So just go to the
Okay.
back glossary. It may be there. Okay, I'm trying to remember now. And anyway, either way, we'll catch up again in 2 weeks if you don't
Thank you.
find anything. Okay, because my wife has been going through that book to varying degrees. Okay, and so she's more familiar with it. So let me know where you're at 2 weeks from now.
Thank you.
And with your healer,
Yes.
ask your healer to look at your brain at, first of all, the non-physical level. Again, that holographic imagery that I described when looking for portals. And you can do this yourself. And look for whatever little amorphous dark grey thing, or maybe a portal, or maybe an obvious creepy crawly, and transmute it.
Okay.
Okay. And then just spend 5 or 10 minutes doing that. And then go through the same process, another 5 or 10 minutes, looking at your brain, looking at your physical head. Okay. Because some of us still have things like etheric parasites, things like limes, how it pokes holes. Those holes open up non-physical infection as well. Okay. So limes just means a little bit more nursing is needed. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Have a go at it yourself, then check in with your healer later.
Okay.
All right, because healers, yeah, they're wonderful. And sometimes it is the right move to hire one, but you know, they're expensive. Okay. And you want to be more dependent on yourself when you can help it. You know. All righty. So all right, talk to you soon in a couple of weeks, Pat.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
All right, Jeannie.
Hi.
Awesome.
Um,
How you doing?
hi. Good.
Good to
Um,
catch up with you.
yeah. So in New York City, high-rise apartment building, top floor, corner apartment, super, super windy. Like even if New York City is not windy, this area just happens to be really, really windy. When it gets really, really windy, I'm really off. Like, I mean, it's just like my head, I can't even concentrate, I can't even think, I can't even like, I'm just really super emotional. I think it's just more of like my Ayurvedic constitution or something like that. But in general, I'm going to be in this apartment for about 4 more months. And I'm just like wondering, like, I'm having people pointing out that they're just not feeling good in my apartment. It's like, and I know my brother said this many years ago that the apartment never felt good. But I guess now that I'm just becoming more and more aware and I'm spending a lot more time alone, I'm starting to feel it and see it. Do you have any suggestions for what I can do, like for the apartment in general? Because it's also like I have new neighbors that are moving in actually today next door.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like, I think in general, the city energy is just like compounding it, where before I didn't feel it as much.
Yep, gotcha. Now, let's first of all quickly begin with putting things in the context of the pre May 1st period
Okay.
and the post May 1st period. Okay. We have to put things in that frame of reference and context
Okay.
because things are different. Okay. So the windiness, let's begin with that. Was that ever really much of an issue prior to May 1st?
Yeah.
Okay. Like at what point was it not really an issue? Or was it always an issue since you've ever always been there?
I guess I noticed it more like within the last year.
Within the last year, the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And before then, it was more like, to use an analogy of living right next to a train station where
Yeah.
the bells and the trains passing by,
Yeah.
people notice them when they first move into
Yeah.
a place like that nearby. And then 2 weeks later, it's all very much there and
Yeah.
but they don't notice it anymore. They manage to
Yeah.
put it in the background.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're clearly not able to do that anymore because you've been
Right.
there for a number of years, right?
Yeah, about 5 years.
Yeah. And only in the past 12 months it became an issue.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, a lot of it's mainly two things. A lot of external stuff off of Gaia, the planet, has been removed. And whenever that happens, often, not all the time, but often, whether it's, grids, structures that kept a very dense, heavy, and negative frequency band always there. And when they get removed, Gaia starts not just detoxing, but shifting her energy back to her, closer and closer to her natural equilibrium. Okay. Like balancing the acidity in your blood kind of deal. And then when that's done, either on the non-physical planes or something's removed from the physical plane and is shut down, but even just on the non-physical plane, when a particular structure or whatever garbage is removed, it affects the physical, often in the form of dramatic change in weather, shift in weather, winds, and that kind of thing. And that's been happening consistently for a while, really, but even more so in the past year, 18 months. So there's that side of things. And secondly, your own natural sensitivities keep on bumping up every time you do whatever kind of internal work on yourself. And because when we do a healing, we don't just do a healing. We don't just go up an extra big notch in personal frequency, therefore timeline. The noise within reduces. Okay, because really most of us are full of noise. Okay. The noise within us reduces, and that's why you start to notice things that were always there, but didn't notice it before, or bothered by things that didn't bother you in the past but bother you now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, and now you've got, since May 1st, just out of curiosity, did all this get, I suppose, kind of compounded a bit more since May 1st, if you just notice?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said before, this incoming light is coming in through the physical as well, not just the non-physical planes. And it's really pushing through trapped energies, trapped holographic memories, like I said before, and really sort of dissolving them, cleansing them. And voila, all of a sudden you're sensitive to everything under the sun. Okay. Being in a big city, you're going to get sensory overwhelm anyway. you know. So it's, it's more, that adds another level of acuteness just because of where you are, because we adjust to our environment.
Right.
All right. But often that adjustment, there comes a point in time where that adjustment and conditioning starts to interfere with your evolution
Yeah.
and personal ascension. Okay. So, the amount of EMFs and that, all that stuff, unnatural stuff, yeah. It's all, I don't know, speeding up, compounding.
Mm.
Okay, this natural process. So if you haven't already, I wouldn't be surprised if you're guided to move out, I don't know, in some idyllic place
Yeah.
in, the eastern end of Long Island, or a rural part of New Jersey, or whatever it
Yeah.
is that you're drawn to. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. Because if you're overwhelmed and too sensitive to your environment where you are now, then that is what it is. It's more important that, well, the only thing that matters is that it's happening for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's the only thing that really matters, and you should be concerned about.
Okay.
Now, you yourself, I know that you recently broke free of what is essentially and ultimately, a past life karmic imprint. So, and that's really unleashed you to really start ascending and gaining their sensitivities and so forth.
Okay.
So you're going through quite a transition, a good 6-month transitional period.
Okay.
Okay. Which is good as long as your general trajectory in terms of personal timeline and frequency for that matter is that steady gradient upward. Okay. Really, that's all that really matters. That's the only thing you really need to worry about.
Okay.
Not change itself.
Okay.
And I know change is not easy. But again, that's not the issue. As long as you're moving upwards, that's the only thing you need to worry about. Now, you're going to get the occasional little dip. Okay. Whenever that happens, be aware of it and be proactive. Check your auric membrane. That's the issue. Seal it, move on, and back up you go. Or clear an entity. Just check yourself for 5-10 minutes in the morning, or when it happens in real time. Okay. Follow those protocols. 111. Follow those protocols that I explained earlier in the in this Q&A. And then if that only lasts for a short while in terms of feeling better, again, then and you backslide again and feeling out of source, whatever the symptom is, then you've probably got a shadow aspect that needs looking at and needs the light and love of your consciousness.
Okay.
In other words, self-fragment retrieval 9 times out of 10. Okay. Because when you're ascending, internal stuff tends to come up, more. Okay. That's why I try to, I suppose, develop a culture of doing it as almost like a habit of that half-hour retrieval, self-fragment retrieval process. If sealing your aura and clearing an entity or a portal doesn't do the job, and an hour late doesn't do the job at all, or an hour later or a day later, you're back down again. Yeah, diaphragm retrieval, and doing that in the morning or on the weekend on a regular basis and developing a way of life around it.
Okay.
That's where you want to go. Because improving your life and getting what you want or think you want is always based on raising your frequency, a frequency upgrade. And as the old saying goes, you can't take your baggage with you. And they do get forced up as an issue every time you do take an action to raise your frequency, whether it's a wealth building action or a new diet that's perfect for your blood type, or whatever action it is, and all of a sudden you're feeling out of sorts. That's because you start to go up in frequency by taking that particular action to improve your life. But this has to go. This hasn't been looked at. And the high frequency forced it up. And the sooner you, I don't know, have that mental grasp of that, and that it's normal, nothing to freak out about. Just take use the appropriate tool that's specifically designed for whatever's up. Methodical, not quite habitual, but something like that is what I'm trying to express. As soon as you understand and grasp that this is just a natural process, this is what happens when your frequency bumps up, unresolved stuff want to leave because I can't handle the high frequency of, say, a wealth building endeavor, or,
Okay.
take that half an hour when you can, whether it's on that same day, which is ideal, or schedule it in the following day, because sometimes we can't always do it on the same day, and just go for it,
Okay.
But again, like I said, and I'll repeat this because it's important, check your auric membrane, make sure it's sealed.
Okay.
Check for an entity transmuted and its source. If you feel kind of weird after interacting with someone, do a quick verbal revocation. All right. Do those 3 things first before going up
Okay.
to the amalgam and doing a diaphragm retrieval. Okay. Just in case, because sometimes that is enough. And it's not something deep and internal that needs to be retrieved. Okay. So, yeah, it's partly a way of life to a degree. And once the mind understands that, it sort of, I don't know, gets over it in a certain healthy respect. Okay. Any other questions?
No, that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and great to catch up with you. And yeah,
Thank you.
stay in touch. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Good on you. All right. I think we'll close it for now because there's plenty to learn here, plenty to apply. So feel free to re-listen to this. But again, this is timeline jumping. Once you understand what I've just explained to Jeannie, for example, and you get practiced and then used to using some of these relatively simple tools, you may not just rarely need to hire a healer or a psychic, but also you're simply able to keep on going up that upward gradient of timelines quicker and in a more steady way. Okay, because normally most people go upwards, then they go down, and they don't take the right action or have the right tool, and they sort of flatline for quite a while, and then maybe they start going upwards again. That's what you don't want to do. Okay, you don't want to be there. We've been there for long enough. You want to keep on going upward you'll get the occasional block that comes up or something happens, which means a little dip. You take the right action that I've explained in this Q&A, and whoop, back up you go. Up that gradient. Whoops, another dip. Use that simple protocol, and whoop, up you go. Like within a day, even within the hour, if it's convenient enough. And that consistency in raising your timeline is where it's all at. Okay. So I'll take this last question from Melody, and then I'll be closing it up. Whoop, where'd you go, Melody? Matt's iPhone. Nice to meet you, Matt's iPhone. Melody. Okay, maybe she did it accidentally. Oh, Matt's
How's it
iPhone.
going?
Hi,
How's it
Matt.
going, Jim? First time on here.
Good to have you on.
Appreciate it. I have so far been drinking the water and have played around with these codes, and I am amazed. So I'm excited to keep on going. I just did the first phase one, like 52-minute video too, and that freed up a lot of energy as well. So thank you.
What was the last thing you mentioned?
So I think I'm on week 2, and I forget what you call it, but the phase 1 of the healing program in
Phase 1, yeah.
So I just did that a couple of days ago, actually.
And you feel much better, do you?
Yeah, I've been playing with energy for a while, so I'm kind of familiar with timeline jumping. But like you said in your masterclass, this puts everything on steroids.
Okay. I may ask for your permission to have that as a testimonial, but no pressure.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. Much appreciated. I can change your name if you want, whatever. So, okay. Well, thank you for letting me know that. And again, fit it into your weekly schedule and do it on a somewhat regular basis. And now with this Q&A, you've learned exactly what to do, how to respond whenever something happens or something goes south, even if it's just your emotions. Okay. Or physical energy levels.
Yes.
Because when you get a simple hole in your auric membrane, you leak energy and you're tired. Very, very tired.
Yes.
There's weird fatigue. You don't know where it came from. That's why I tell people, check your auric membrane first, because again, it's become more and more of an issue in terms of the integrity of the outer auric membrane with the extra light that's been coming up and through the planet, removing stuff, clearing stuff. There's a bit of shrapnel going on. Okay. So just that alone is a huge takeaway from this Q&A. Even if,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I've learned a lot about that stuff. So I think
You're cutting out. Okay. Just repeat it because you cut out. All right. Looks like we lost you, but that's cool. If it's something important, you can always email me, but we definitely can't hear you now. Oh, you're back. You're doing what's it called? The reception dance. Walking about trying to get the reception. That's all right. Let me just check this question while we try to get you back. Let me just quickly answer this question from Melody. She did type something in here. Hi, Jim. What would the process be? Let me just, admission time here. All right. What would the process be when clearing ancestors' usage of black magic? Along with, let me get that thing out of the way. How do I get that out of the way? Okay, never mind. There we go. All right, bear with me, everyone. How or what would be the process when clearing ancestors' usage of black magic along with the entity's ghost that they may have asked to do their bidding? That's where, because you have a connection to it and it's affecting you to one degree or another, that means that you can use the soul fragment retrieval process. First of all, present this fairly clearly to the teams, to the amalgam. And what you can do is do a soul fragment retrieval process where you go, through your chest and back to that time space of the most, representative moment where they're doing black magic. Okay. And what you can do is you can just visualize whoever, the Gamalgam, Rue, Merrin, Oberon, your own guardian angels, the Hod, whatever, your I am on the other side, and just say, free me from this and shut this down. Okay. And then do a soul fragment retrieval on those that are your ancestors participating in said black magic ritual. Okay. Do soul fragment retrieval on them and just move them up into source light. Okay. It doesn't have to be your soul. Just move them up into source light. And then ask your I am presence or whoever you want really to undo this, dissolve it, and just move white light throughout that ritual area. Okay. Now, because it's black magic, you may want to do a bit of quarantining at the beginning, even before you dive into your chest. And you want to clear any entities that they conjured up. I mean, there's several ways you can do it. You can go there to that time space where they're doing that black magic ritual. But when you go there, when you first initially dive through your chest, just hold the intent of going or being taken to that one ritual that sort of represents all of them, the whole thing, representative in that way. It's best to see and feel the teams coming with you. Okay. Because it's a black magic rituals, it means they're conjuring up negative entities. So see it from a bit of a distance. See your I am, the Hod, whoever, Gamalgam, transmitting any entities coming through a vortex that they tend to open up, and shut that vortex. White light, and watch it disappear. Okay. Then move white light, declaring, holding the intent of undoing whatever castings, spells, or agreements they did. Okay. And then do the soul fragments retrievals on your ancestors back to source light. Just see source as a white or magenta ball of light just up above, and move them into them. Typically, that would definitely be enough. Okay. So I'll send this recording in a couple of hours or so, because there's been some great lessons here. Okay. And thank you, Sue. And I hope that helped, Melody. And the verbal revocation is always a good thing to do when it comes to black magic stuff. Withdraw your consent and agreement to any black magic made by your ancestors and its impact and influence on your DNA and soul path. That's what you want to add into the blank spots of the verbal revocation. Okay. All right. That ends. Let me see. We went for an hour and a half. Very, again, a big deal Q&A. Very empowering Q&A. Partly mainly because of what's been happening since May 1st. Okay. Let me see, Melody. Would it apply? Likewise, Christy. Let me see here. Let me make sure Melody's looked after. Would it apply in the same way if it's more of a partner's ancestor? Yeah, you can do the same process if it's a partner's ancestor. Thank you very much, Jim, for the help and sharing on this. It's very much appreciated. Yeah, you're more than welcome. So just do the same process on your ancestors. I mean, on your partner's ancestor. Okay. And thanks for the testimonial, Matt. Much appreciated. I can change your name if you want, whatever. Although Matt's pretty innocuous, isn't it? Some people have a website they would love to promote and are in the public, if you will, online. So some people prefer their actual names and their website listed with some testimonials that I've done in the past. I can do that as well. Steve, Melody, everyone here, Angel, Miguel, and certainly Jeannie. It was really nice catching up with you guys. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Re-listen to this tomorrow or whenever, because there's always some stuff that we missed, right? Or didn't notice. And love and gratitude to all of you. All right. This is Jim Tortsakis closing this week's Timeline Jumping Q&A.